and will defer the choice to the second half. Austin Peay will kick off. The Dawgs will receive.
And we welcome you to ESPN College Football, presented by PlayStation 4. As we get set for the Georgia Bulldogs, opening the season ranked number 3 in the country and hosting what should be an FCS playoff contender this season, the Governors of Austin Peay. And we welcome you to Sanford Stadium. I'm Beth Mullins along with Anthony Becht. Rocky Boyman is with us today as well. Anthony, it's a Georgia team that played for a national championship a year ago. They think they've got the pieces in place to be in that title hunt again.
Well, there's only one way to do it. We've seen the Clemsons and the Bamas of the world. They don't rebuild, they reload. And this is what Kirby Smart has done. He's gone out and got some of the best young talent in the country. The question is, can he coach them up and get them ready to go to play now for this rugged SEC schedule?
They've got the SEC's Freshman of the Year back as well at quarterback in Jake Fromm. And we do anticipate at some point today, we will also see Justin Fields, the #1 recruit in the nation, playing a little QB for the Dawgs. Austin Peay winning the toss. They have deferred, so Georgia will take the field first. It's Mecole Hardman, an all-SEC punt returner back deep for the Bulldogs, and Austin Peay will keep it away from him and kick it to the up man instead. And it's Brian Herrion who will bring it out across the 40 in a return of 24 yards. So Jake Fromm, the sophomore from Warner Robins, Georgia, Anthony.
Well, listen, there's a couple attributes I want to show. And it's the it factor, right? Pressure in the pocket. Fourth quarter in the Rose Bowl. Instead of running this to get 2 or 3 yards, he finds his tailback, Sony Michel, gets a big gain. He's worked on the deep ball a ton, but I saw a lot of dropping dimes last year on tape. He gets Hardman down the sidelines for a touchdown. Beth, I'm excited. He's only a sophomore, so much more room to grow.
On the ESPN Freshman All-America team last season. And so much poise he showed in that postseason run for Georgia. They'll open up with 4 receivers. And this is the new tailback, DeAndre Swift, replacing Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, the dynamic duo last year. And the 6'2 sophomore, 220 pounds, had a couple of TD passes in both the SEC championship and their semifinal win.
Extremely high football IQ. He commands the offense. You'll see him walk to the line of scrimmage several times and make things happen because he's mastered the playbook.
Out of the gun and out of the backfield is Swift. And he will lunge across midfield and pick up the gain of about 8 to move the chains.
Swift is the complete package, Beth. You see that average yards per carry, but the biggest number to me is he's the leading running back returning in pass catching. Even with Sony Michel and Chubb last year, he had more catches out of the backfield. He can do it all.
Earlier this week, the Kirk Herbstreit, the Herbie Awards, he gave Swift his Breakout Star Award this preseason. Big things expected. He's the lone setback. Try to break a tackle in the backfield and does, and is able to salvage a couple of yards. Nate Howard, the transfer from Missouri, is the guy who missed him.
Well, we talked about everything he can do. He can run in between the tackles. He's got breakaway speed. He's able to get big plays. But I think this is the asset right here. Catching the ball, taking it to the house. You see those big thighs that he has to run through. Gaping holes. This offensive line is all back from last year except one man out of Philadelphia, I should say. I love this sophomore running back.
He's going to catch his breath right now. Elijah Holyfield is in the backfield. They may have upwards of 4 or 5 guys to choose from back there. Crumpton with the catch and another first down. Akil, the coaches told us, had the best camp of any guy on the team coming into the new year.
That's where he's from. Philadelphia
Philly,
as well.
Philly.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's the one thing I love Kirby Smart. He's gone out and get all the good players, north, south, east, and west. They want to come to Georgia.
Here's our first look at the true freshman out of Miami, James Cook, now in at tailback, the younger brother of Dalvin. He'll get a touch. The swing pass down inside the 30-yard line. Let's go down to the field and Rocky Boyman.
Hey guys, I was able to talk with Georgia offensive coordinator Jim Chaney before the game. He thinks this Georgia rushing attack can be even more productive than last year, and it's because of the wide receivers, how deep, how talented they are. They can soften up that defense a little bit, get those balls to the perimeter, and then start chipping away with those young running backs.
They are going to be a fun bunch to watch, those young backs and the 4 underclass starting linemen. This is Miko Herdman. The receiver screen, good for another first down.
You just saw some of those offensive linemen, but they are the key. Some of the biggest offensive linemen in football, especially number 74, Cleveland, 340 pounds. He's a road grader. It starts all the way across the board. I'm looking forward to see what these guys are doing in control early right now.
They average 6'5", 327 pounds up front. On 1st and 10, they'll run behind that group, and it's Swift down to the 19. So Georgia into the red zone quickly. Malik Davis with the stop for Austin Peay.
And 2 challenges for Austin Peay's defense. One, the physicality up front. They're undersized. It's going to be hard to keep the banging and pounding they're going to get, and also the multitude of backs that they'll see. Fresh legs, a lot of speed, tough to stop.
And because of that, you're going to see Austin Peay's defensive line, lots of slants, lots of things to try to confuse and shut down those interior gaps.
They'll run it again with Holyfield. That's one thing that Austin Peay is counting on, a D-line that should be the strength of this unit, including 3 Power 5 transfers to assist Jason Williams, their returning All-America candidate.
The biggest thing about them is, the experience that they bring back. I mean, this has been a losing culture for so much. Coach Will Healy's done a nice job of getting some belief, and they played 3 FBS schools last season, so they're ready for this challenge.
3rd and 3 now for Jake Fromm in the offense. Looking left, he'll throw that way, incomplete, broken up by Davis, intended for Tyler Simmons. And the Austin Peay D holds in the red zone. It's 4th down.
This is nice tight coverage. Fromm, a lot of short passes so far, a lot of RPOs. He's get run check, but this is tightly contested. Good job by Davis knocking it away, holding to a potential field goal.
3rd-year starter Rodrigo Blankenship, the junior out of Marietta, will come on to attempt the 34-yarder. Hit on 20 of his 23 attempts a year ago. Good for 87% accuracy. And the first points on the board of the new season for 3rd-ranked Georgia. And a 3-0 lead over Austin Peay.
You have a chance on national television in front of a national audience to prove that you deserve to be on this stage, because you do. I love every single one of you. I am so proud of you. I feel like there's nobody who has paid the price and prepared harder than what you have. Here's what's cool for me. You get a chance to prove it. Right here, right now. Go do it together. I love every single one of you. Let's go.
That's why they've been snagging some of the best recruiting classes in the country the last couple of years. It's year 3 of Will Healy, and after ending a 29-game losing streak, we're talking down at the bottom of D1. They roared back last year, winning 8 of 9 and barely missing out on the FCS playoffs.
33 years old. The players gravitate to him. He's very open and candid to us. I mean, basically open door to anything. He told us everything, and the players have responded, and they're just trying to turn this thing around and become a great program. And today is an opportunity. The easiest way to make good on that opportunity is just don't make mistakes. If you don't shoot yourself in the foot, you give yourself a chance to go out there and execute and be productive and find small things to get better at.
And part of that pregame speech included the phrase, let's go out there and throw some haymakers and enjoy this opportunity. It's the highest ranked opponent they've ever faced, the biggest game in school history. And now they will have their first chance to get their hands on the football. D'Angelo Wilson will be the deep man, as Blankenship, after the made field goal, will boot it away. And the fair catch for Austin Peay. So they will come out with sophomore Jeremiah Oatsvall out of Brentwood, Tennessee. They will play a couple of quarterbacks today, but this is the OVC Freshman of the Year, Anthony, and their preseason Player of the Year in the Ohio Valley.
He's basically like an extra running back, ultra competitive. He's a movement passer. He's not necessarily that accurate out of the pocket, so they want to try to get him in multiple level passing on the outside and try to get some easy completions versus Georgia defense.
He will face a new-looking Georgia D. 7 new starters taking the field this afternoon for Georgia. DJ Montgomery is the man in motion, their top returning target, and a flag here prior to the opening snap.
Prior to the snap, delay of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
I could see how you might be a little anxious, a little nervous in this environment. We'll give them that.
And that's the biggest thing they're going to have to handle today is just be smart. Just be smart, have fun, embrace it. Coach said they've worked the entire offseason for this moment. They just got to go out there and play.
They'll get the ball to Montgomery. Slips one tackle and then pushed out of bounds. Number 3, Tyson Campbell, is a guy we'll keep an eye on in the secondary for Georgia. He is the true freshman out of Plantation, Florida.
Beth, just looking at him up close, Tyson Campbell, a freshman. He has what all coaches love, and that's length. 6'2", 185 pounds, and he can run.
And he may be busy today, right, Anthony? Because opposite him is the All-America DeAndre Baker on the other side.
A little competition going on from this game today.
And now a delay of game penalty and a quick timeout.
First charge timeout of the half, Austin Peay. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Austin Peay trying to collect themselves. We'll take the quick break and be right back.
ESPN College Football is presented by PlayStation 4, the best place to play, and in part by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
There's head coach Kirby Smart pregame on the dog walk. Their quarterback looking good, Jake Fromm, already had his hands on the ball once today. The Taco Bell and the Livmas student section, the selection committee are checking out for passionate fans like these all year long. That's some passion right there. It's a hot day. The S may be in a little trouble there, Anthony.
First time at this stadium that's really electric. The fans were here early to cheer this team on.
Boy, they are excited. Coming off that trip to the national championship a year ago. Ahmad Turner will get the call there on second down. And Kirby Smart said, yeah, it was a great experience, but that didn't take away from the hunger and the desire of this year's team to go back and win it this time.
He said he used the pats on the back, per se, from the media and all the fans, and said use that as momentum for this football team, especially this defensive side of the ball. They just feel like they didn't get the job done. They got a lot of players to replace on last year's squad, and they want to prove something.
They don't want to rest on the laurels of an SEC championship and a Rose Bowl win. Here's a 3rd and 8 for Austin Peay. And the pitch to Wilson, and he has the first down. driving out across the 35-yard line. J.R. Reed with the tackle.
Nice little play design by Austin Peay. They just basically try to cut down everybody, and that'll be some of the new things. The linebackers that aren't experienced, Jawan Taylor, Monty Rice, Crowder, some of the guys that don't have as many snaps. Just understanding nuances of the game, you know, getting cut, not getting cut, playing in space, just having a feel of what is being asked for them on defense. They'll have some of that to work with today against Austin Peay.
Replacing 3 starting backers from last year, of course, with the first-round pick, Roquan Smith. And off the miscue on the snap, Oatsvall tried to hook up with a receiver, incomplete. It was DeAndre Walker, the outside backer, coming at him.
DeAndre Walker, an impressive guy here. A lot expected of him as a senior. He's been a kind of spot player, like a situational rusher. This year they want him to be an every down player. He's got himself up to about 245 pounds to try to take that load on.
Added the muscle, trying to maintain the speed as well. He was their second best guy on the team last year. Sacks and tackles for loss behind Roquan.
Austin Peay having problems lining up early in this football game. Not a good sign against Georgia.
The keeper for Oatsvall, and he'll slip his way out across the 45. That'll set him up with a 3rd and short.
Oatsvall's a very tough quarterback, small, shorter player. Like I said earlier, like another running back, but you're taking some pounding from some very large men for Georgia. How much of that can he take, and how often will they rotate the quarterback position today with Javon Craig, number 3, on the sideline?
A big part of this turnaround for the Governors last year was the 6th best rushing team in FCS. Over 250 yards rushing per game a year ago. They are without Kentel Williams, one of their starting running backs today. He's out with a suspension for a couple of games. Receiver screen. Wilson's going to come up a couple yards short. William Poole, the sophomore out of Atlanta, with the coverage. And that'll bring up 4th down. And after consideration, they will thoughtfully bring out the punt unit. This has not been a strength for the Governors. They've been inconsistent in the kick game. Devin Stewart, the punter. Akil Crumpton back at his own 10-yard line for Georgia. Crumpton waving for the fair catch, and Georgia will take it at their own 20 after the 36-yard punt. Well, let's check back in with Rocky.
Well, guys, Georgia's going to try to do the seemingly impossible this year, and that's replace inside linebacker Roquan Smith. There's going to be 4 Bulldog defenders who are going to get a crack at that inside linebacker spot. One's going to be Monty Rice. He's a sophomore, great spring, sideline to sideline, high energy guy. And then after that, it's going to be Jawan Taylor with the start. Now, Jawan Taylor, he's a senior. It's do or die time for him. He wants to establish himself as a full-time starter.
And that's what they're looking at with the loss of Smith and Bellamy. Fromm set to go back to work. Throwing it into double coverage, incomplete. That other linebacker, of course, Lorenzo Carter.
See Coach Healy pretty excited. It's a nice job by Malik Davis, number 1. The one thing that they do have in the back end, Austin Peay, is length. 6'1", 6'2", 6'3 players that can hopefully match up. If they can stay close to the Georgia receivers, they can go make some plays on the football, throwing it into double coverage there. That's a nice job.
Jake starting out today 4 of 6 to 4 different receivers with a catch. And now it's Swift breaking tackles out to the 35-yard line and a run of 15. Gunnar Shalato, the top tackler for the Governors, with the stop.
So much strength and power in his lower body. You see the push, the holes. He doesn't get touched till about 5 yards up the line. So it's going to be one of those days with a back leg Swift.
Georgia picking up the tempo on a very hot and humid day in Athens, and it's to Swift out to the 45. And that'll be another 10-yard pickup, 1st down. And now the officials will have to hold up Georgia just to move the chains, and they're right back to work. More of Swift running into the arms of Jason Williams, who is on the Buck Buchanan watch list FCS Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, 6'1", 225, led the team in sacks last season. Unfortunately, he'll be playing with a bit of a taped up, broken hand. You'll see it there on his right hand. That's tough. When you're a small guy engaging 330-pound offensive lineman, you better have two hands to work with. Big challenge for the young man today.
He's up against a really good one, and Andrew Thomas, who's made the move from right tackle to left tackle this year. From with time, Brian Herrion out of the backfield. Nice twist at the 50, and that'll get him about 10 more yards as he left Shalato behind.
Beth, you got all this talent at wide receiver, and all of a sudden it's like, where do you find the balls to get to him when you have so many backs that have fresh legs? Herrion, Holyfield, Swift, Cook, all these guys can catch the football. Fromm is going to have a ton of weapons at his disposal.
And that's where Michelle was so good last year, catching the ball out of the backfield. Right now, already two Georgia running backs looking like they can do the same.
Fromm. Riley Ridley down inside the 30, and they're getting the yardage in chunks for Georgia.
See a lot of tapping helmets. You got a player down right now for the Govs, trying to rotate fresh bodies because of this pace.
Athletic trainers for Austin Peay checking out an injured player.
I think it's Nate Howard, number 88.
We'll check on that in just a moment. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Sanford Stadium here in Athens, Georgia, home of the third-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. The injury was to Nate Howard of Austin Peay, actually a collision with his teammate, Isaiah Norman. Howard was on his feet, helped off to the sideline. His helmet is back on. He will have to stay out for a play at least. And it's back to work for Fromm and the Bulldogs. Jake, 7 of 9 through the air thus far. They've had one trip into the red zone, settled for the field goal, knocking on that door again. The fake to Holyfield, pressure right up the middle, and down goes Fromm as he got it away just in time. Gunnar Shalato got a hit on the quarterback.
Gunnar Shalato, he's not going to be the fastest player on the field, but he's definitely one of the more dynamic guys right up the middle. No one blocks him because they're trying to run a screen, but he reads it so early, make a play. He's led this team in tackles the last 2 seasons. He's really been a remarkable player for this program.
8th play of the drive here for Georgia. Swift out of the backfield. Cut down after a short game. Isaiah Norman good in the open field. A gain of 3. It's 3rd down.
I see the one thing defensively Austin Peay's trying not to do is let up a big, long pass, an explosive play down the field. You've seen defensive backs backing up, giving a little bit more of the underneath routes, trying to keep everything in front of them, letting Georgia try to earn every single yard.
Yeah, they play a very basic defense. They want to keep everything in front of them and avoid the big play.
4 receivers, including the tight end, Nauta, the motion man here on 3rd and 7. Fromm all day. Swift gonna have to get it himself, and he does. Hurdling a defender at the 19. 1st down, Georgia.
When you're in space and you're a back, can you make the first unblocked defender miss? This is what he did to the #1 tackler on this football team. It's a beautiful job making that move and getting those yards.
12-yard gain there for Swift. Down inside the 15. Pushing his way forward to the 10. The sophomore out of Philly.
And I love his build, 5'9", but he's still over 200 pounds, so he can kind of hide behind those gigantic Georgia offensive linemen. Then at the last minute, he has the quickness to hit it up in that hole for some yards.
6 carries for the 34 yards. From Ridley, caught at the 3, into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia.
Sure he crosses the line, nothing touches the ground, looks like the ball's over.
10-yard TD from to Riley Ridley. Blankenship, the PAT got it. 11 plays covering 80 yards in just under 4 minutes.
The SEC has seen his brother Calvin do it for so many years at Alabama. Now it's time for Riley Ridley to make his name. Touchdown, Georgia.
The ESPN app now with ESPN Plus. Get more ESPN and download now.
Well, tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Got another good one coming your way. It's Louisville and #1 Alabama, the defending champs, kicking off their season in the Camping World Kickoff on ABC, presented by Wells Fargo. And that's coming up at 8 Eastern on ABC. Will it be Tua? Will it be Jalen? Probably a lot of both down in Orlando.
Everybody wants to know who the starter is. Doesn't really matter who the starters. They both bring great things to the table. They're both going to play a ton, and Coach Saban's got to keep them both happy.
Probably hand it off to Damian Harris a time or two as well. You know, one of the big stories in the offseason after Tua replaced Jalen Hurts in the championship game. Of course, not news to the Georgia faithful tuning in today, but had that masterminded that big comeback and ultimately the win in OT.
You know, and I went back and watched the national championship game, and the one thing that Tua did when he came into the game is he has the ability to understand who that receiver is supposed to be that you got to get the ball to. Jalen Hurts has been waiting for him to take those steps, and he's a little hesitant to believe and trust in the route tree and the route system, and that's been the big difference. But Jalen Hurts with his legs has been phenomenal in his 2 years he started.
Oatsfall's going to keep it. They'll run the option. A penalty flag is down. I know, Rocky, you got more on Bama.
Can I play a little devil's advocate with you guys?
Oh, please, please.
If Tua doesn't throw that final pass there for the touchdown, I know he came in, he played great, but if he doesn't throw that, are we all clamoring for him to automatically be the starting guy? I mean, he did take a couple bad sacks. He had a bad interception. I'm just, are we putting too much weight in one play is my question to you two.
Yeah, it was only in overtime in the national championship. Everything's on the line.
Illegal formation. More than 5 in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Austin Peay continuing with some issues getting themselves set here offensively. We're showing America right now, Rocky. I think maybe the other reason why there's such Tua mania. Jalen Hurts in that final was just 3 for 8, 21 yards through the air, while Tua was 14 for 24 with a couple of TDs.
No, I get it. I just think that last play is getting a lot of weight to it. That's all. I mean, no question, he's the guy that can pass it. At this point, Jalen, I don't think he's all of a sudden going to become a down-the-field thrower, so I think he's the guy. I'm just trying to throw an option at you.
They got to hustle here to get the snap off. They do just in time. Trouble on the pitch. Ball on the deck. The scramble for it. And Georgia's got it. DeAndre Walker.
Well, another linebacker that's in the mix. He's an old hat, but Natrez Patrick, number 6. Look at the speed on this poor pitch by Oatsfall. Doesn't give his tailback a shot at all. The big linebacker smashes down Tanner and able to get that ball to pop out so that his teammates can jump on it. DeAndre Walker does a nice job of scraping that out with one arm and making a big play.
That was just some muscle for Natrez Packett to force it. We got Savage shoulder pads. We got the dog bone there. Oh boy, we got all kinds of activity. The turnovers happening for Georgia, and they are set up inside the 10. Swift with the cutback touchdown. Points off the turnover, and Swift finding space between that big offensive line. Blankenship good. 17-0 Georgia.
Well, Andrew Thomas, number 71, he's going to get a nice block down and really pinch this whole thing off. He played right tackle last year, and he just basically opens up the hole. Swift has a nice job getting through untouched. The tight end Werner also with a nice kick-out block. Everybody in unison here. Even
Crumpton
comes in on the inside, the little guy, to get a nice block as well.
And I felt the entire Georgia team impose their will upon Austin Peay right there. All three levels, line of scrimmage, linebackers, and in the secondary, there were Georgia blockers, again, pushing those guys back. That was impressive.
Some hardware on the sideline for that defense. They were able to muscle that loose ball away, force the turnover, and the quick strike Swift with his first touchdown run of the season from 8 yards out.
See Andrew Thomas, number 71, the tackle, a sophomore, played right tackle last year. Jim Chaney, the offense coordinator, said he's the smartest offensive lineman on the team. He's the best player, and he's going to have a long, star-studded career at the left tackle position.
Sophomore out of Lithonia. They are ready for the season opener over there in the student section. Look at that. That's
great.
prime time stuff on a Saturday afternoon. Touchback for Austin Peay. Well, this season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate will make a contribution to the university's general scholarship fund. Thank you, Allstate. Blankenship's been busy. A couple of PATs and a field goal, and a quarterback change here for the Governors. Javon Craig, the junior out of Chattanooga, who started the first 7 games for them a year ago.
Yeah, he's the player that has the best opportunity to throw the ball. He's got some experience being, he won the job last year as well, and he's a strong runner. So let's see if maybe they can help themselves out with the pass in this series.
We'll go to Ahmad Turner, the sophomore out of Dalton, Georgia. There are a handful of Georgia guys back in their home state today. Ahmad took over and became the leading rusher for them last season and scored a touchdown in each of his last 6 games. As starting quarterback Jeremiah Oatsfall now with the headset helping out from the side.
And this is the way it's going to be for the season. Coach Healy said that they're going to play 2-to-1 series throughout. They both earn their positions, and they're both going to help.
Sideline warning. It's Austin Peay. That's the first warning of the game.
Well, Anthony, there's really no other way to say it, but the game management thus far has been poor for Austin Peay. All kinds of problems.
Getting lined up, you're right,
yep.
Lining up, getting in the right spots. Again, you've got to be clean when you play a team like Georgia.
It's got to be some nerves.
Craig, his first pass attempt and a completion out to the 35-yard line of D'Angelo Wilson. And there's a first down throw.
Yeah, they like D'Angelo Wilson. He may be one of their better players. Smaller, slot guy, a little more speed, can get into those tight holes, but you got to be an accurate passer. It's a nice throw to him. If I'm the offense here, Austin Peay, as we get bigger on our screen, I want to check out the freshman corner we talked about, number 3. You see him right here. That's going to be Campbell. He's a true freshman. I know he's a stud, but maybe you take a chance down the field with him one-on-one.
We'll run the end around away from him this time. And it's D'Angelo Wilson, tracked down by J.R. Reed. But getting back to Tyson Campbell, a top 10 recruit overall, coming out of high school, the second-rated cornerback. He's a sprinter, too, a state champ.
Yeah, and Kirby Smart was funny. He said, listen, we're going to put him out there. We think he's great. But if he messes up or he makes any mistakes, I'll be quick to pull him and put somebody else out. So the clamps and the pressure is always on the players. That's how he gets the maximum ability out for each one of these guys.
Tyreek McGee, another one of their defensive backs, out today with a foot injury. And the toss to DJ Montgomery. And another first down for Austin Peay. Under the direction of OC Wesley Satterfield, they set school records last year for total yards, rush yards, total touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. Huge improvements on both sides of the ball, helping them to win 8 of their last 9 and put themselves on the verge of the playoffs a year ago in FCS. They open up this year ranked number 23. Everybody chasing North Dakota State and JMU. Put a scare into NC State today. On this, the anniversary, by the way, of the Appalachian State upset over Michigan. We'll throw that out. This may be it for the first quarter. A good one for the Georgia Bulldogs. Jake Fromm with a touchdown pass. They force a turnover, score some points off of that. DeAndre Swift, his first touchdown run of the new season. And we are set to take a break and hydrate before the second quarter on a hot and steamy day in Athens, Georgia. Dog Nation excited about the third-ranked team in the land. Calendar year of 2018 for Georgia. Of course, the big Rose Bowl comeback win in double overtime over OU. Got them into the Natty, and then the heartbreaking loss in OT to Alabama. Smiles, though, on recruiting day. They landed the #1 class with the #1 quarterback. And pump out your chest for the NFL draft. A school record 3 first-rounders taken. As Kirby Smith now gets it, Kirby Smart, now starting year number 3, the SEC's Coach of the Year last year. I was about to say Roquan Smith, going on one of the top picks in the draft, but Kirby Smart, the SEC championship, bringing it back to his alma mater, the first here at Georgia since 2005. And we talked a little bit, Anthony, about how highly motivated they are, and also about how, what was he telling us yesterday? The inches are everywhere. You never know where you got to gain that extra inch, whether it's on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom. What's it going to take to get that extra inch to win the national championship next time around? 3rd and 2 here for the Governors. Looked like some confusion in the backfield, but Javon Craig will clear it up and get the first down.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is he's really turned up the volume on competition and pressure on his players. If you're a returning junior or senior, you're not guaranteed a spot or the playing reps you got last year. He's going to make you earn it. And some of those young players that he's bringing in, you see the recruiting numbers. They improved every single year. They're super strong. You see all the top 300 players that he has, #1 ranking going into next season. It's been incredible.
On 1st and 10, Craig will keep trying to get the edge, and it's Tyson Campbell, one of those highly recruited freshmen there with a stop. Rocky?
Yeah, the other thing, Kirby is running absolutely legendary styles of practices. I talked to Aaron Murray, former Bulldog, this week. He said Kirby basically runs like 3 practices are going. There's never any point where there's a guy standing around. It's a tremendous stress on the coaching staff, but it means reps. Lots of guys are getting lots of reps to get better every single day.
That's the deal, right? When you bring in all these recruits, they're not afraid of the competition. The upperclassmen have to respond, knowing they're pushed every day. And 2nd and 6. Trying to get the edge, and wrapped up by Jawan Taylor. He and Monty Rice, a couple of those guys trying to replace what they lost at the linebacker spot.
And the thing about Taylor and Rice, of the four inside linebackers, they're like the lighter of the bunch. And the day and age of, this game is less and less played in a phone booth and more played out in space. So I wonder if that kind of gives them an edge, being just a little bit lighter, being able to run and play that game in space.
And really, that's why Natrez Patrick, number 6, probably one of the bigger linebackers, doesn't play as much, because sideline to sideline, a little heavier back. It's tough to keep him in there and run with some of these younger linebackers.
3rd and 1. Quarterback will keep, and it's going to be close. Monty Rice able to track him down, and the spot has him short by about a yard. Looks like it's at the 20.
It's a nice job here. And you see Craig, he's got some movement skills. He's actually a really good runner himself, but you see the speed, the linebacker position, just tracking down. Monty Rice does a nice job. We just talked about him. The speed of the backer sideline to sideline is about as intense as it's ever been for Georgia.
A linebacker's got to be able to sort his way through the trash. That was an excellent job by Monty Rice in that play. Patient, and then, wow, went and got it.
Logan Birchfield, a 37-yard attempt. And it is no good. Missed it left. Chance for Austin Peay. They come up empty. 17-zip Dawgs. Oh boy, Adnan Verk, we were talking about that game earlier today. May revisit that in a moment, but first we want to get to the debut of Justin Fields, the #1 ranked recruit in the country. The true freshman out of Kennesaw, Georgia. Harrison High School is now in at quarterback. And he'll hand it off to Elijah Holyfield. May have gotten a yard. So the pride of the Harrison Hoyas is in, who originally committed to Penn State, switched to Georgia, the #1 overall ranked player in the ESPN 300 class. And oh, by the way, spent some of his summer playing for Cam Newton's 7-on-7 All-Star team. He is Justin Fields.
Big arm, very strong in the pocket. Get it down the field. He's just been remarkable, and that we're going to see some of that today. And this is another attribute he brings to the table. A power runner taking on a TV right there. That's pretty good. You got to watch that. I know he's amped up. He doesn't want to take on big hits, but he is 225 pounds. He's as big as any quarterback in the country as a freshman.
Anthony, I saw him before the game, and if Georgia needs some snaps at pass rusher, he could do that too. Just an exceptionally well-built guy.
Had the wherewithal on that run to switch from the inside arm to carry it in the left hand. 3rd down and a few. They'll run the end around, and it's the new guy, Demetrius Robertson. The transfer from California, coast to coast, touchdown Dogs.
Beautiful blocks by the tight ends on the outside to spring this. But hey, welcome back to the state of Georgia. Nice job. I thought I'd see him catch a ball first. Look at his speed down the sideline, 72 yards. That's a way to start and bring it back home for Demetrius Robertson.
Former top 10 wide receiver from Savannah Christian High School. Was at Cal a couple of years, transferred back home due to personal matters, and became eligible immediately. They said he was still learning the playback, Anthony, but his instincts taken over on that one.
5-star recruit, speed. He's another element that will help this Georgia offense springboard itself to one of the best teams in the nation.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And human horsepower. NOS Energy Drink. High performance energy.
Oh, beautiful day for a tailgate. A little chicken, a little lemonade, that cool, refreshing drink. You're watching the SEC on ESPN as we welcome you back to ESPN College Football presented by PlayStation 4. 24-0, all Georgia against Austin Peay here in the first half. Beth Mowins, Anthony Becht, Rocky Boyman in the season opener for the third-ranked Bulldogs against an FCS foe. The touchback, D'Angelo Wilson will take a knee. Jake Fromm, a TD pass. DeAndre Swift, the touchdown run. And Demetris Robertson, the new guy coming back home from Cal with the big play of the day on the end around going 72 yards. And the Govs will stick with their other quarterback, Javon Craig. They are so excited to have Kirby Smart back here for year 3, back at his alma mater, one of just a handful of coaches back where he played.
You know, Rocky, they talked about Roquan Smith being an eraser, a guy that made a lot of wrongs, right? Because he was just able to go out there and make plays happen. Talk about what the talent some of these young players are going to have to deal with at this position with so much competition.
Well, just that term eraser, I played with the Colts with a guy named Bob Sanders. That was him. He was an eraser because he just erased any mistake you might make, and it allowed the rest of the defense to be aggressive because he knew Bob was going to just clean it up.
Broken up, they went after the freshman again, Tyson Campbell. He had the coverage on Sumara.
You know, but one of the things, Rocket, I think that's going to be important, you know, we talk about the linebackers. The reason why the linebackers run freely is because of the big guys up front. Ledbetter, you see Clark, all these players that are going to be coming in here. Rochester in the middle, he's got to fill big shoes at the defensive line position. So they're the ones that keep everyone occupied, keep the blockers off them to make big plays.
There's no question about it, and they're going to miss John Atkins. They're going to miss Trenton Thompson. Those were two space-eating defensive tackles last year that let a 215-pound Roquan Smith roam. So that's certainly a question mark on this team to be answered.
Dumped off underneath, incomplete. Craig was looking for his tight end, Trey Pruitt. That was one of the freshmen, Brenton Cox, number 1 right there, bringing some heat alongside the senior DeAndre Walker.
Try to run that screen pass in a tight end. There's just so much speed, so much flow. The linebackers, the defensive linemen, everybody's in the right spots in a crowd, and Craig's got nowhere to go with the football. It's going to be tough offensively. I know Austin Peay's got a lot of movement, and they got a lot of deceptive things, but right now just try to generate a first down. It's going to be one of the toughest things for them to do.
Let's see if Mecole Hardman can do something here. He's on the Paul Hornung watch list. Amongst one of the most versatile players in the country. There was some contact, the flag down on the muffed punt, recovered by Austin Peay, but it certainly appeared that the Govs pushed a Georgia player into Hardman.
And if it's his own player, then that's not going to be a penalty. So we'll see here. The fair catch. The question is, was he blocked into him? He looks like he squared him up. He got kind of sandwiched. Yeah,
I mean, Crumpton, his own teammate, got him.
Need some
Cummings. Yeah. James Carter is our referee today. He's got his crew together there to talk about it. It is interesting because bodies from both sides hit him.
And they all kind of equally came in at the same time. So 2 defenders, 2 blockers, 1 coming down to catch the ball. See how they call this one.
I think you're right, though, Anthony. It was a space issue as well.
During the kick, holding. Number 8, correction of the receiving team. Kick catch interference. Number 3 of the kicking team. Those penalties all set. Replay 4th down.
Why not? Let's do it all again. And he's arguing that. He's arguing that the fact that he thought 2 Georgia players pushed his own guy into the return. And he's got a good argument there when you watch this. See number 3, Cummings, coming in there, and he gets pinched off. Everybody's equal right in that position. You could go either way with that. The problem was, Ben, they were going to get a ball here because caused a fumble, muff catch, and they recovered it.
I don't like that call at all. If you push the defender into the return, that's not a penalty. I think Healy has a real gripe here.
Well, in Georgia, Crumpton was back. They had two guys back. They'll switch that up here. Crumpton's way up now by the line of scrimmage, so Mecole Hardman is way back by himself around the 32-yard line. Devin Stewart boots it away, and Hardman with the fair catch, and everybody staying clear this time. A 40-yard punt, no return, and a 24-0 game.
That's where the Dogs will have it.
The college football playoff lives on ESPN.
Who will be in? Of course, Georgia was in a year ago, making it to the national championship game. And they have the lead here in their season opener with Austin Peay 24-0. We saw Jake Fromm start the game at quarterback, a touchdown pass to Riley Ridley. We've also seen Justin Fields out there, and the freshman returns, the #1 recruit in the country, Anthony. And you know, Kirby Smart was very quick to mention to us, hey, this is not a one-dimensional guy. We think he's got all the tools necessary.
Well, people think he came out of high school and he's labeled as a dual threat, that he's going to be a guy that changes it up and be a runner. Well, no, he can play the quarterback position. He can pass just like any of those other quarterbacks, and he can run the offense. The one thing that he won't learn that's going to take some time is understanding the protections.
They're going to run another end around, and why not? It worked well the first time. Tyler Simmons down inside the 40-yard line, and flags at the tail end of the play. A gain of 32 as it stands right now.
Davis with the tackle for Austin.
And with this kind of speed at wide receiver, I could play quarterback maybe. Just hand it off to those guys, right?
Let's not get
okay.
I have no comment on that.
I know, I was waiting. No, but I thought it was interesting. Kirby said he's not a package guy, meaning he has the whole offense, but...
Personal foul. Hands to the face. Offense number 8. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
So, yeah, not a package guy, he said, but I will bet both you guys milkshakes that there is, versus South Carolina next week, there will be a Justin Fields package in that game. I think it's just he's just too much of a weapon. You bring him in, that changes the whole mentality of the defense.
This Jim Chaney offense is not easy. There's a lot going on. This is an expansive playbook. Jim even told us yesterday that, listen, it took a full year. Jake didn't really have all the protections down last year at the quarterback position, and he's highly intelligent. So it's going to be a learning process. Games like this against Austin Peay, get a nice lead. These are valuable reps that this young man can get.
Fields tucks it, runs, takes out the umpire out to the 45-yard line. And let's hope he's okay. There was a pile of bodies right there. Russ Pulley gonna try and shake it off.
Yeah, best thing to do sometimes just stop. Don't move, right? He's right in the middle. All right, he's trying to get out of the way. He has no quickness skills. Just stand there, let them run around you. But he got up. He was smiling after that one, and he's like, ah.
Now, I could see Rocky doing that more than being the quarterback, but Rocky's dual threat at the smoothie bar. I think we should take him up on that bet for next week. I like a little chocolate peanut butter banana.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at playing a statue at this stage of my career. There's no question. But, no, I think, again, I know he's someone who has the whole offense, and he's going to learn the whole offense. But as a change of pace guy versus a good team as they get later in the schedule, I just think that would be a tremendous weapon. Especially like, third down, goal line inside the 15-yard line. Woo.
Straight drop with time. Now looking for an alley to run, and he finds one and scoots out of bounds around the 34-yard line. Got away from Gunnar Shilato and a gain of 18.
Yeah, he's got all day. He's got a great offensive line in front of him. He's got two players on the outside. It's a two-man route, max protection, good way to protect your quarterback. Nobody's there. You got four defenders in the back covering two routes. And this is the element that he has. He has the speed. I mean, he's going to run right by the linebackers, get in the open field, and get a huge game on a play that was well covered by Austin Peay.
They've got Cade Mays, by the way, wearing jersey number 42, and off the left side of the line, that's where Brian Herrion was trying to run. They've got some stud young linemen from which to choose from over the next few years in front of a guy like Fromm.
And, you know, Cade Mays wearing that number. I try to figure out why. Well, it's because Jackson Harris is down, number 88, the tight end, so they need another element to block a tight end. So, hey, try to make him a little thinner. Now, it doesn't look any different with the number on it, but it is a smaller number, and he's playing that third big tight end, that blocking tight end on the edge.
That's the regular tight end, Werner, in motion. Georgia will run to the right side with Holyfield stuffed up. It's going to be third down. And Kirby Smart was not attributing any of this, by the way, to the changes in the redshirt rule. You know, freshmen now, you can play in 4 games. You can play an entire 4 games and not burn your redshirt. He says, hey, we got a lot of guys who are ready to play regardless.
Yeah, it's a competition, and I think it's going to be that way every day in practice. And Rocky talked about the practices, the intensity. I mean, you got 2 teams rolling at the same time on both sides of the field every single day, and they're going to play the best players, and you're going to have to earn it every single week.
Fields, the crossing route, Riley Ridley, first down inside the 20 as he picks up 12 yards.
Again, when you have time, you can be patient. He just sees Riley Ridley come underneath. The linebacker gets pulled the opposite way, and they get receivers. And one thing I've noticed, tight ends and receivers blocking downfield. It's a nice job, takes a little hit. It's good to get some of those reps.
Fromm and Fields, could see a lot of the two of them for Georgia throughout the season. Riley Ridley, by the way, now 3 catches, 33 yards, including a touchdown today. Over 100 yards now through the air for Georgia in the first half. Back to the ground, Swift for a couple. Shalato with the tackle.
I love yesterday how Jim Chaney was talking about how they've really made an effort to get big at the guard position. You think about these SEC defensive lines, you know, Nick Coe, Derek Brown, all those guys that Alabama has. It's hard to move those guys off the ball. You better have some thickness at that center guard center position.
Yeah, and that attributes to the power run game, the gap runs where your guards have to pull. They don't do much of that anymore because of the fact that they want to be bigger because the D tackles are bigger.
Holyfield breaking tackles, touchdown! What a run by Elijah, 17 yards across the width of the field.
Holyfield is a between the tackle guy. Extremely powerful, Beth. He's the kind of player that when you get down in this red zone area, I can predict that he's going to have a lot of touchdowns, a double-digit potential this year because of the fact that he's so powerful.
9 plays, 69 yards in 4.5 minutes. PAT is good, and a perfect start to the season for the Dogs.
Cutting back, making plays, getting downhill, making people miss. If it's Swift, is it Holyfield, is it Cook? They got a lot of guys making plays.
Thank you very much, Adnan. The Mountaineers and the Volunteers getting after it, Anthony.
I mean, arguably could be one of the best offenses in the country for West Virginia. The one thing I've noticed is that they haven't converted a third down yet with just over a minute left in the first half. Not good for a team that's going to be high powered.
Impressive showing so far for Georgia. through the air, on the ground, getting it done. The defense pitching the shutout. We got more football coming your way tonight at 8 Eastern. Number 1 Alabama, the defending national champs, will take on Louisville, and the Camping World kickoff on ABC, presented by Wells Fargo. We got you set for tomorrow night as well on ABC. It's the Sunday night kickoff presented by NHTSA. 8th-ranked Miami, number 25 LSU will come your way from Arlington, Texas at 7:30 Eastern. And as always, you can watch live on the ESPN app anywhere you happen to be. Jeremiah Oatsvall will come back in at quarterback, so the second change of the day as they revert back to their starter. Had the early miscue, a bad pitch that resulted in a fumble, and Georgia scored off of it the very next play. They cannot get to the outside. D'Angelo Gibbs was one of the guys leading the charge there. Some good help by Richard LeCount.
Also got some good help by Natrez Patrick on that play, the linebacker. That's one of his knocks, that he's too big. He can't make those sideline-to-sideline plays. Nice to see him in on that action.
He's a very big linebacker in the middle here. Almost 200, over 245 pounds. They like to see him at about 240 or right under there for him to be optimal.
Oatsvall on the rollout. Patrick had a shot at Alexander. A couple of guys missing. And he'll give them a chance on 3rd down, a gain of 7.
And you got to think last year, that was a play right there where Roquan Smith would have came out of absolutely nowhere and shut that guy down right on the 25-yard line. Just, I mean, play after play watching him last year, just make those plays in space. Incredible.
Well, started out early on in the year with that big road win up at Notre Dame last year. On 3rd and 3, Brenton Cox mauled the quarterback, forcing the quick pitch. And look at this second chance opportunity. Nope, whistle dead. Whistle dead. And the stuff by the Georgia D. Lot of red jerseys in the backfield, Anthony.
You know, it's amazing. They're trying to read option a defensive lineman and not block him. They get a really nice pitch, but look who's on the spot, number 2, Richard LeCount. He's right there to make a big play and tackle in the backfield. They just got so many players that you have to block because there's so much speed. If you don't get your hands on them, they're going to make the play, and that's what's going to make Georgia such a dynamic defense.
Loss of 4, and it's 4th and 7.
Let's go, Georgia!
The fake, a little pause, and Hardman with the fair catch at the 30-yard line. A punt of 41. Back to the studio right now. Adnan. Thank you very much, Adnan. Plenty to talk about on this first big Saturday of the college football season. Back to Jake Fromm here at quarterback for Georgia. We have seen both him and the freshman Justin Fields. Fromm with a TD pass, touchdown runs for DeAndre Swift, Elijah Holyfield, and an end-around 72-yarder for Demetrius Robertson, the transfer who came back home from the Cal Bears.
Anthony, what's something you would like to see Jake Fromm do to take his game to the next level from last year to this year?
Yeah, you know, the coaches talked about the deep ball. I thought he did well, but, you know, if you listen to Jake Fromm, he wants to just work on timing, the quick drops, the footwork. He said he watched a lot of Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo in the offseason. You know, 2 younger quarterbacks, especially Garoppolo, who hasn't played a lot of games, but he just says that's the kind of player he envisions himself being, a guy that can move in the pocket quickly, have an adjustment to the left or the right, and then be able to throw a nice, almost an awkward throw accurately to his receivers to make plays. We've seen it today, Rocky. So many weapons, so many guys can catch balls. He can go anywhere on any given play, and he just wants to improve that interior footwork in the pocket.
Fromm working out of the gun. Lobs it deep down the seam, incomplete, looking for Swift. How about Jake's day thus far?
Yeah, a lot of short passes, and he's been accurate. Some of these swing passes are not easy throws. Got to put it in front of the receiver, the tailback, whoever that may be, to make plays. But they haven't had to do much because the running game's been so good today, so the completion percentage is high. 10 for 13, 86 yards, a touchdown. I will say this, the one thing, and you just saw it on that last play, Bess, sometimes you got to let it go. He really does try to make a play on every single snap, every single pass, and you just can't do that. You got to live another day, put yourself in a position to win.
Good protection again, wide open is Hardman at the 40. Inside the 10, Mecole Hardman, touchdown Georgia.
Very hard scoring strike to Mecole Hardman, number 59 yards.
59 yards, Hardman using the legs from inside the 40. And from second TD pass of the day. PAT is good.
It's a busted coverage. Nobody finds him when he loops inside. He's wide open, but this is the difference maker. Split two defenders, they have angles, and he shoots out of a cannon. That's why the reason why he's the third leg of the track team at Georgia.
Got some good memories from the championship game last year. How about the speed to get behind the defense for the 80-yard touchdown catch?
And you know what? He can play a little quarterback himself. Now, they're close, but it's the speed. It's the difference. He brings so much to the table. We had a great opportunity to talk to him yesterday, have some fun with him, but he is an instant playmaker. Terry Godwin, another receiver, he's out today. He's going to be a big difference maker as well, but he's going to be the ones that can create that small pass and take it to the house for 50, 60 yards, and that's what's going to be scary about this Georgia offense.
And I saw Hardman before the game. He was the guy that got the rest of the wide receivers together, kind of coached them up and got them a little bit hyped up, and they came in for a break before that game. So now add leadership to his qualities.
And I saw you two with Mecole on social media. Is that touchdown catch worthy of some of Mama's lasagna, right? Isn't that his favorite meal?
I'd make it for him.
You'd help him eat it.
If Kirby Smart has asked him after the game, what did you eat? He said, Mama's lasagna. Trust me, that's going to be FedEx to him every single Saturday before the game.
I don't know if you'd make it, but we'd all help him. Well, how about a little bit of that special moment you guys had with Mecole?
Blankenship's kick through the end zone for a touchdown.
So what do you like about track? Well, you're getting down those blocks, you're getting ready to go. What do you like about it?
I guess just the excitement, the feeling for it. Just especially out there with guys that's fast. Like, you watch track like the Olympics, like the 9-9 guys, and you actually out there with them. You like them guys fast. Like,
put you in your place a little bit.
Right. It really humbles you though, because you think you're so fast, and you got them guys run like 9, 9, 9, 8. You like.
What do you run these days?
I don't know. It be nice.
10-2? 10-2?
I go 10-2.
There you go. I like it. 10-2. He's fast. That's all we know.
I go 10-2.
All right, so you're a DB back in high school. Okay, so let's just pick out Terry Godwin. If you guys lined up, could you jump on the DB side and shut him down for a play?
Yeah, I'll lock Terry down.
You lock him down?
Yeah, no hesitation at all on that.
Easiest question he knew.
We'll huddle up with Beckton Boyman. We'll have those for you every week. He is a special young talent.
You're right. It's good to know the personalities of these players. All we know is they work hard, they're fast. How many passes they catch. But these guys are kids, they're students. They have life, social lives. They have other things going on, and it's just a good opportunity for me and Rocky to get to know some of them.
D'Angelo Gibbs cutting down Trey Nation. Number 4 in white for Austin Peay. He is an Illinois transfer. They have a Power 5 guy in the backfield. Both of their tackles are Power 5 transfers, especially Kyle Anderton, who's been awfully good over the course of his career. Number 77, the left tackle, the senior out of Tennessee. Expected to be one of the best in the league this year.
And they'll get back Kentel Williams, who's on a 2-game suspension. He's their star returning running back. They had 2 running backs. Tanner's in there, but he's not playing in this game and the next game, but he's going to be a guy that's going to be a playmaker for this football team.
The play clock will eventually catch up with the game clock here. They won't be able to run it all the way out on 4th and 3. Big advantage on the stat sheet for the Georgia Bulldogs today. They've only allowed 4 first downs in this first half. Well, we got Monday Night Football for you as well, with college football megacast covering Virginia Tech and Florida State from Tallahassee. Got the game on ESPN, Command Center on ESPNU, Film Room on ESPN News, and then I'm so jealous, Marty Smith and Ryan McGee, the first ever Goodyear Blimp cast, calling the game from up above with Josh Jackson and DeAndre Francois at quarterback.
Yeah, we had Josh Jackson in the bowl game last year, and he's really a phenomenal player, super patient, really plays above his youth at the level, really a high level. And for me, Rocky, I think the biggest thing for Virginia Tech is the loss of some key defenders, Edmonds brothers, and also a big defensive interior lineman.
No, absolutely. I mean, Bud Foster, the cupboard is bare for him, and they do a good job recruiting, but he certainly has his work cut out for him.
That'll be the first time we'll see DeAndre Francois since a year ago, right? Got hurt in the opener against Bama. The kick is short from Devin Stewart. It does take an Austin Peay bounce and then run out at the 45 with 6 seconds to go in the half. 362 yards of total offense for Georgia, 17 first downs. They are averaging 10 yards per play today. That'll move some chains.
Yeah.
They'll take the knee to end the half. 38-0. An impressive start to the season for the Georgia Bulldogs at the half here in Athens. And now let's get you back to the studio with Adnan Vert.
Georgia fans, halftime is presented by Coca-Cola. Thank you, Coca, for your support of Georgia athletics.
Coach, dominant performance in the first half. Was there a special emphasis on trying to get the running backs involved early?
Yeah, we want to be able to run the ball, create an identity for our offensive line. You know, I think the big thing for us, we want to be physical. We want to knock people back. We didn't do that on both sides of the ball the whole time.
Other than being physical, what do you want to see out of your team here in the second half?
Create some confidence. We need to make some plays. The special teams hadn't had a chance to do that.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Rob.
We thank God for each of you and make you bless you in a tremendous way.
Bulldog Nation. Bulldog Nation, please welcome the Ergel family. As you continue to support Landry's journey, log on to GoFundMe.com and search for the law of Landry.
Thanks, everyone. Oh.
Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by PlayStation 4. Great start for the third-ranked Georgia Bulldogs, 38-0. They did it through the air. They got it done on the ground. They had some explosive plays. And the defense so far pitching the shutout on Austin Peay. Beth Mowens along with Anthony Beck. Rocky Boyman is with us as well. Anthony, your impressions from that first half of play, especially for this Georgia offense?
Well, they had 38 snaps in the game. They're averaging 9.5 yards per play. I talked about explosive plays early in the game. Last year, they averaged about one play every 6 snaps, which is great. Well, today they have 6 explosive plays so far in the run and the pass, which has really been the difference in this ball game for making plays for Georgia.
Jake Fromm, the start today, a couple of touchdown tosses. We've also seen Justin Fields running the offense. Demetris Robertson, the new addition, the transfer from Cal, a 72-yard run on the end around. DeAndre Swift and Elijah Holyfield also with touchdown trots in the first half of play. Season opener for Georgia before they jump right into the SEC. Their first 2 conference games will be on the road, and that will start at Williams-Brice in Carolina next weekend. South Carolina, a big winner today over Coastal Carolina in their opener. Well, how about some of the big plays we've already seen, Anthony?
Yeah, let's go to the explosive plays, because that's been the difference in the ball game. And how about the new receiver, Robertson? First play of his Georgia career, takes it to the house on the jet sweep. Really nice. And then the stable of running backs. Holyfield, just a dynamic back within the tackles, can break tackles. There he is, his daddy, Vander Holyfield. He didn't want to get too hype about it, because he knows he's going to have a lot of touchdowns to cheer about. And then Hardman, of course, we talked about him. Look at his speed. I mean, he just caught the ball in space, and there's just unquestionably no way to tackle him. There's just so many weapons for this Georgia Bulldog team, and you see it right there. 6 plays, 15-plus yards. Pretty spectacular.
Well, another miscue for the Austin Peay offense. They've got Javon Craig back in at quarterback. Darrell Rollins-Davis was the guy who ended up with the football right there. The juggling act in the backfield.
And it's one thing for Austin Peay to be outmanned, obviously, player to player, but they've really just shot themselves in the foot this entire game.
They were 8-4 a year ago in the Ohio Valley Conference in FCS, second place finish, their most wins in 40 years. It's been a remarkable turnaround for this program, a bit overmatched through that first half of play. So a lot of pride right now. In fact, the team spent a little extra time on the field during the half. A special moment for Austin Peay, but also to get them refocused on the second half and what they can still accomplish.
Well, Will Haley was realistic coming in his football game. He said, look, we're not trying to out-scheme Kirby Smart. We're not trying to be those smart coaches that think they know everything. We're trying to take small moments, small pieces of the game, successes that we can help build, so that when they get into their conference play at the FCS level, they can be a dominant team.
Good cut back on the run by Ahmad Tanner, Eric Stokes with the stop. So after losing 29 games in a row, they were finally able to break through in the second season under Will Healy. September 16th of a year ago, the win over Morehead State, ending the 5th longest skid in history. And now they finish it up, winning 8 of their last 9 to close out last year, their most wins since 1977. Certainly something to build on.
1977 kind of hit me there. That's when I was born, so it's a long time. Long time. 41 years to be exact.
They got a 2nd and 4 here. Good push again by Eric Stokes to get right into the backfield with Mamadou, a loss of 3 on the play. Well, Will Healy, this starts a big month for them, because they have their 2 biggest rivals in the league on the road at the end of this month. For the Eddie Robinson FCS Coach of the Year, Will Healy and Austin Peay, they will find out about their chances in the OVC very quickly. They'll have to deal with Jackson State and UT Martin later this month. Looking deep downfield, incomplete. Almost had the hookup with Corey Simmons.
There's some nice pressure there by the grad transfer for Georgia, Jay Hayes. Spent his time first 4 years at Notre Dame. Last year in the Notre Dame-Georgia game, he had 7 tackles. Thought he was going to go to Oklahoma, wound up coming here to Georgia. And he's a guy that's versatile. He has the size to play inside, but you can also bump him outside because he's so athletic.
That's the depth, right, Beth? I mean, they're just so deep. I know they're looking for starters, and they really didn't come out with a depth chart till we got here on Friday, because they just got so many players that are going to roll in and play in the games. They're all going to have to contribute at a high level.
So Chase Hardman back to the 10. He'll have a chance at a return. And he'll get it back out to the 15. 45 yards on that punt from Devin Stewart. 5 on the return. The Georgia offense looks like it's going to be Jake Fromm set to go here in the third. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. The SEC champs from last season looking good to start out the new year. Georgia leading Austin Peay 38-0. And what looked like possibly Jake Fromm going back out to start this third quarter for Georgia now appears to be Justin Fields. So their numbers so far today, Fromm has the 2 touchdown passes. Fields has shown us both his arm and his legs, but it'll be interesting as the season progresses how these two are utilized. They're both competitive guys, Anthony, that would love to be out there for every snap. Yeah, I mean, Jake Fromm proved everything without a reasonable doubt that he's going to be the guy, at least coming into the season. I'm expecting him to have a very good year. Now, from Fields' standpoint, you want to try to improve the skill set, give him some opportunities. When they're running passes for Fields, in particular in the first half, we saw maximum protection. So he gets the time to survey the field and try to find the open receiver. If not, he goes. Where Fromm right now understands protections, pointing guys out, doing different things. So the playbook a little bit different when both guys are in the game. And there's the completion. Out to the 38-yard line. Caught by Trey Blunt, the sophomore from Atlanta, and a pickup of 19. Yeah, we've seen several crossing routes. This is a nice job. It's just putting it in a place the receiver can catch the ball and make completions. Good protection there. That's a big throw across the field. We see the strength coming out of him. Remember, he's just a true freshman, 6'3", 225 pounds. Holyfield, almost a direct snap right there. Elijah's going to make something of it. But, Rocky, you too have been in these competitive types of situations where you've got to balance, give me the ball with let's do what's best for the team, right?
Well, no, you're absolutely right. And, Anthony, you mentioned something a little bit earlier about one of Fromm's faults last year is he didn't want to give up on a play and live to fight another day. I just think it's going to be hard for him to do that when he's got a freshman phenom nip it at his heels. He's going to want to go out there and make a play every single time to say, hey, I'm the guy out here, put that other guy, the freshman, on the bench.
And, look, I don't know how they're going to work this out. I mean, to me, this is, a clear-cut, Fromm season. And unless something tragic happens where he just has a terrible year, and then there's that conversation starts. But look, those are the things when you're talking about the it factor. Does he have something in his head that's special? He's able to block those things out, just go play ball, regardless of the competition or the guys behind him or who's knocking at his tail. So, he's just got to go out there and do his thing. He's motivated, Fromm, to go out there and get better, work on some small details, master the playbook even more, and have a big season. And Fields, again, is the competition you'd like to have every single year at the position, and quarterback's one of them.
The only thing I'll say is a couple years ago, my alma mater, Notre Dame, they had Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire, and I felt like they kind of went back and forth developing both those guys and never really developed one.
Well, Fromm's 10 times better.
Almost intercepted.
Both of those guys.
No, there's no question. I'm not arguing that, but I just think, I just wonder if you need to, go with a guy, and so the quarterback isn't always looking over his shoulders, and then again utilize Fields as a guy from the 20-yard line in. No. Say, hey, you get to the 15, you get to the 20, you're coming in and kind of do what you do.
And ironically enough, speaking of Notre Dame, it was Fromm who was in the opposite. He was the Fields of last year, right? And then the injury in the opener to Jacob Eason opened the door for Fromm to get that first start up in South Bend, and the big win for them. And really got the ball rolling. The one regular season blemish, the loss to Auburn, which they avenged in the SEC final. But for Georgia fans, my goodness, you whooped up on Tennessee and on Georgia Tech and on Florida as you got into the playoff, winning in the Rose Bowl in dramatic fashion, and then playing in the final in Atlanta.
regardless of the situation, Bet they got two very good players. That's going to help this team get better, regardless of who's on the field. You know, Fromm deserves a lot of credit. It is hard to play in the SEC as a true freshman and then get to the national championship and play into overtime. And he had them right there, and they were that close. And I think that's right now what's tugging and driving him this season to be even better.
A lot has changed on the field here at Georgia this year. A lot has changed around the field here at Sanford Stadium. More on the West End when we come back.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, a big day yesterday, the dedication ceremony at the West End Zone Project. Kirby Smart was there. A big day for AD Greg McGarity, President Jerry Moorhead. Saw Vince Dooley in attendance there. They renovated the west end of the stadium, and it is a sight to behold. We've got some pictures for you here in a sec. It's 1st and 10 for Austin Peay. And Javon Craig, the keeper up the middle. So how about the 120,000 square foot locker room, Anthony?
That's the kind of space you need for these guys these days. You know, helmets, you need your area with the rosters that they have. This is just phenomenal, though. You're talking about state-of-the-art. They got your names. Some of the past alum have their names on the locker as well, and it's well deserved when you talk about what they've done. And they want to continue that tradition and try to, you know, build it like the Clemsons and the Alabamas year to year, be that top tier team.
The new locker room that also includes back there a recruiting lounge. Above that, on the Fan Plaza, is a big new video board in the Fan Plaza that now links up to the bridge. The bridge, we're told you never were able to walk directly into the stadium, and now you see at the base, you can walk the bridge and then come right in to the end zone of the stadium on game day. And for the first time, that was actually the team flip to the west end zone for their pregame run out. They had been coming from the east in prior years. Third and 5, and they will not get the distance. D'Angelo Wilson with the catch, and D'Angelo Gibbs with the cover, Rocky.
You guys mentioned the facilities. That's what moves the needle for these young kids anymore. You know, when I went to school, I was in hook, line, and sinker with Newt Rockne and the Four Horsemen and, you know, Tony Rice and all these guys, all the tradition. I honestly don't think that matters as much to these kids. They want the facilities, the barber chairs inside the locker room and the fancy this and the weight rooms. I just think that's why you're seeing this arms race in college football.
Got the smoothie bars. Those are important.
That is important.
Fair catch. Hey, speaking of your Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, they got a big game coming up later tonight against Michigan.
Who?
This is the new analytic for all you number nerds out there. We got your back with the brand new playoff predictor. Check it out. The Dawgs and the Irish both up there. Here is Wendy's Fresh Look with a look at 3 big weekend matchup, giving fans more on the hottest topic today. And what's your freshest look there, Anthony?
Well, you know, I'm not really concerned at who starts for Alabama. What I really want to know are the quarterback situations for Miami and LSU. LSU's got averaged a quarterback a week transferring a couple weeks ago. Now they have Joe Barrow, the former Ohio State player, coming in, transferring. He's their guy, and I'm trying to figure out how do they not have quarterbacks over the last 10, 15 years that can't get the balls to the athletes. And on the flip side, Malik Rozier. These guys started out with a bang, got this school back on the map, and then completely collapsed with his teammates as well at the end of the season last year. So 2 teams, I think, that got a lot to prove that, you know, no one's really counting on early on to after what they did at the end of the year.
And for Miami, there's no way they get 30 turnovers this year like they did last year, right? Those things kind of come in bunches. I'm interested to see, can that team win games if they're not getting those turnovers week in, week out?
South Carolina a winner today in the SEC. So was Ole Miss. Auburn still playing against Washington, Tennessee right now, battling West Virginia. Of course, Texas A&M in the Jimbo Fisher era opened with a big win a couple nights ago. James Cook with the burst. Inside the 20-yard line, shoved out by Malik Davis.
I give Malik Davis credit for catching him, but look at the blocking by the offensive line, the push. I mean, look at that. There's nobody touching this guy. He tripped over the white line coming through the hole. That's how big it was. But Cook is fast. His brother's Dalvin Cook, and it's easy to see why this young man could be special.
36 yards on the run. Isaiah Wilson shoring up that right side of the line. Holloman with the catch down to the 10. Well, you mentioned James Cook and his brother Dalvin, the all-time leading rusher at Florida State before moving on to the NFL. And we saw Evander Holyfield earlier. And of course, your reference, Calvin played against Riley last year in the national championship at Alabama.
We got to eyeball the right side of this line because Cleveland and Wilson, 340 apiece. That's 700 pounds of pure man-eating right there. These guys just crush defensive linemen. It's going to be tough to penetrate the line of scrimmage with those two right side players on the offensive line of Georgia.
Cook got tripped up in the backfield. Well, they are hoping to lessen the blow right from the losses in the backfield. The number 2 and number 3 rushers of all time, and Chubb and Michelle. Isaiah Wynn, the lineman who was drafted in the first round, and then Zamir White, who we haven't even touched on yet, the number 1 running back, out for the season with an ACL in the preseason.
Well, collectively, I think they feel that they may be better because all these guys have so many different talents. They can catch the ball. You know, they can go out and run between the tackles. They can run a reverse.
Oh, what a move by the tight end, Isaac Nauta, spinning away from the defender. 12 yards for the touchdown.
Now, the tight ends only caught 22 balls as a group last year, Beth, 41 the year before. Isaac Nauta, highly talented recruit out of high school, has done a lot of the dirty work the last year and a half for this football team, and he's getting rewarded today. It's a nice job by that young man.
On the receiving end of the first career touchdown pass, guys, for Justin Fields. Blankenship, extra point good. All Georgia this afternoon at home.
It's across the board. These offensive linemen making it a big hole for Cook to get the big run down the sideline. And then, hey, let's hit the tight end. Nice move, prepared, taking advantage of the situation, not on the touchdown.
Well, Tuesday night at 9 Eastern on the SEC Network, it's Georgia and NFL great Fran Tarkenton, Scramblin' Fran, featuring archival footage with new interviews about his days here at Georgia. That's coming up Tuesday at 9 Eastern, Scramblin' Fran. Well, here's a guy that could extend plays, Fran Tarkenton. Outstanding in the NFL as well with the Minnesota Vikings. 225 yards rushing, 220 yards passing for Georgia thus far. And another touchback. Time now for today's Aflac trivia question. Let's stay Georgia-centric on this one. Who was the last Bulldog to lead the NFL in rushing for a season? The last Georgia Bulldog to lead the NFL in rushing for a season. Ooh.
I think I may know this, but we'll let it soak in.
Todd Gurley got beat out on the last day of the regular season last year by Kareem Hunt.
Yes, he did. I'm thinking we have to go back
so we got to go back a little ways?
Little ways.
Ooh. Ooh.
Garrison?
No?
Garrison Hurst? Is that the guy?
Yeah. That's my guess.
All right. Ooh, I'm going to go no Sean Moreno, I think. Is that possible?
I don't think so.
Not that many yards in Denver? No. You got to go all the way back to the big fella?
Well, Wow.
Did Herschel ever lead the NFL?
For my time.
This was NFL, not USFL leading rusher, right? Yeah.
Hint, hint.
I don't know if that was the giveaway. Incomplete on the pass. It'll bring up third down. Oh, come on. The last Georgia Bulldog to lead the NFL in rushing for a season. Our Aflac trivia question answer. Super Bowl champ with the Broncos, Terrell Davis. Come on. Career rush yards, 1,900. So that one season, right, that he led the league was more than his career here at Georgia?
He was a stud. There's no doubt about it. That was a heck of a run by him with Denver and ultimately propelled them to get them some championship rings.
Todd Gurley may be next. He only lost out by, 22 yards a year ago for the NFL title? They tried a little misdirection with Herschel on that one. 45-0. Jake Fromm with a couple of TD passes. Robertson and Nauta and Riley Ridley with TD catches. Justin Fields, his first career touchdown toss. And DeAndre Swift and Elijah Holyfield also motoring into the end zone. The big play, the 72-yard end around for Robertson. On the run, excuse me, not the catch there. Punt, Crumpton. Fortunate to get to the 30 and a 1-yard return. So for Georgia, of course, here's the challenge. Over 8,000 yards on the ground over the course of their careers. Both have moved on to the NFL. We've seen a bunch of guys take a crack at it. Holyfield and Swift and James Cook, Brian Herrien.
Staples fullback. I mean, they got a lot of options, and they have another option at quarterback.
Yeah, Matthew Downing will come on. Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. Their work appears to be done for the day. And they'll let him throw it on his first snap, looking for Trey Blunt, incomplete.
I think the question in the running game is, Nick Chubb was just that big bruiser guy in these SEC games that could just kind of pound it out. Is that guy on this roster? I know Elijah Holyfield, 215 pounds, runs angry, but that'll be the true test when they start to get into SEC play.
That'll start next week at South Carolina. Downing is the freshman out of Alpharetta, Georgia. And he'll hand it off to his classmate, Cook. Breaking a tackle, the cutback at midfield and down to the 44. Tackled by number 7, James Bond.
He's going to be special. Just the movement skills. He's got great awareness. Have the elusiveness to make people miss. It seems like his vision is just kind of forward. It's always like 5 yards ahead, and he's hard to bring down. So, you have a change-up back in him, and he can catch the ball, too. I think one of the biggest assets he brings as a true freshman is he can split out, be detached. Jim Chaney said he'll be detached at times and be in there with Swift as well.
They'll go right back to him. The third rated running back in the country. So they got 2 of the top 3 guys. They will add another, by the way, next year when they welcome the number 2 rated running back in the 2019 class. John Emery has committed. There are the numbers today for their rushing leaders. And that adds up total with everybody that's had a carry to 253 rush yards today.
Prather Hudson, there's another guy coming in trying to get his reps, and I still think it starts the offensive line. I just want to specifically watch that last play because there's some backups now in the game playing. Got Cade Mays in the game. Kendall Baker's in the game, who was a starter at left guard last year, but there's just so much power and thrust and push. And listen, this is tough. Austin Peay is physically getting dominated right now in the third and going into the fourth quarter, and that's what Kirby Smart wanted coming out of this game.
Hudson will push it forward. Let's check into the studio with Adnan Burke. Thank you, Adnan. Yeah, they've got a big spot to fill up there too at Penn State, don't they? The tailback position with Saquon Barkley moving on to the New York Giants.
And, I'll be honest, Penn State's going to have a grueling schedule. The Big Ten, there's a lot of strong teams this year. When you schedule a game like App State, a Group of 5 team that has been known to go to other people's places and play strong, that will bring true value and benefits to your scheduling. And I'm not discrediting this on the schedule because, look, Georgia, it's a two-way street. Georgia's got to find a way to get ready for South Carolina because that game is coming here next week. And then, for Austin Peay, they're trying to get their offense and they're trying to see things. And if they can't get anything done versus a Georgia defense, what can they see on this film? So they get a nice paycheck, I get it. But for Georgia, did you get enough in this film to get yourself, or this game, to get prepared for South Carolina?
Austin Peay may have just picked up the fumble recovery right here. The Govs get the turnover. Sean Whittinghall able to scoop it up.
And the number one thing is you got to catch the snap, right? And came back with a little heat on that one. Downing wasn't able to handle it when it got pitched, brought back to the left side of his body. But again, those are the things now when you get deep into a game and you're going to your third, fourth guys, and you have a new center in the game. That's Trey Hill coming in. He's going to get some work. Trey Hill's going to probably play 50% of the snaps at left guard as well, just moving and getting in, and they're going to utilize these guys. So these freshman players, they have to be ready because Kirby Smart is going to find out if they can play or not.
And even up 45 points, Kirby Smart was apoplectic after that play, after that faulty snap.
I think that's certainly going to be a big discussion moving forward, especially now that we're into the playoffs, as they're going to be an expansion at some point. But, should the Power Fives just play other Power Five schools? You get a school like Austin Peay, you want to make sure you get out of this healthy. But, this was a big deal for them. They made a big deal. Will Healy talked about how important it was for his guys to experience this environment. They drove down here from Tennessee. The police escort picked them up at the Georgia state line. They got the police escort all the way down. They stopped and went to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta, all a part of their trip here. So on the one hand, yeah, it's important for these guys to get a taste of this environment. And on the other hand, you're looking at, well, in the playoff picture of things, should everybody be playing just Power Fives or the same number of conference games even?
You're right. And again, coming out of these games injury-free, I mean, here's Brian Glass. He's arguably their best offensive lineman, and hopefully he's okay. But, these guys are exhausted. It's hot. It's hot everywhere. There's no question. But to take the physical pounding that Georgia is going to put on you, and that's something Will Healy had talked about. He said, look, that's the thing we worry about because they're big, they're strong. We don't have depth to exchange guys in and bring the third or fourth running back in and still get the kind of efficiency that a Georgia gets. So you want to get out of this healthy, and you want to come out of this so your guys can prepare themselves for their conference.
Let's take a moment here and check into the studio. Adnan? Oh, that's a big one right there for the Auburn Tigers. Of course, they are on Georgia's schedule later in the season. There's your preseason AP top 10. You see a lot of W's. Oklahoma winning big today. So did Ohio State. They thumped Oregon State, put up 77 points.
Well, the one thing about this AP poll, I'm pretty adamant. I don't look at any of this stuff because Nobody's played a game yet. This is the first week, and teams like Penn State, Miami, Auburn, Oklahoma's got a new quarterback. I know they won big, but we got to see them play somebody. Washington, obviously, with the biggest challenge on here with Auburn, and that's a close game. So that tells me two teams, very good, evenly matched, playing down to the wire. That's gonna lead me to a little bit. And if it stays close, people were saying they were worried about if Washington were to lose, does that eliminate a team from the Pac-12 because of the dominance? But if you keep it close and then you have a strong conference play for Washington, if they were to lose and Auburn wins, now maybe they're back in the conversation. So it is an important week one for some of these teams.
Byron Glass, the senior from Ackworth, Georgia, the starting center for Austin Peay. They have brought the card out, unfortunately, for Glass. The two coaches there were huddled together with the referee. So Byron Glass, the senior, will get some more attention back in the locker room. Back in a moment. Well, our best wishes for Byron Glass. But carted off the starting center here, the senior from Georgia, back in his home state. And you can see the frustration right there. Let's go down to Rocky Boyman right now.
Yes, I just talked to the referees, and they said by rule they're not allowed a running clock, but if both coaches agree, they can decrease the time, so they're going to do a 10-minute fourth quarter is the word I just got from the line judge here.
Oh. Yeah, we caught a discussion going on between the two coaches there during the break, and so the final seconds of this third quarter will wind down, and according to Rocky, we will have a shortened fourth quarter coming up with Georgia leading Austin Peay 45-0 this afternoon here in Athens. All Dogs, nearly 500 yards of total offense today, and pitching the shutout on D. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. On a hot day here in Athens, Georgia, with the temperature pushing 90 degrees, even hotter down on the field. You'll note the start of the fourth quarter with just 10 minutes. By mutual agreement of the two coaches due to the score and the heat, and unfortunately the fact that there appeared to be a serious injury to one of the starting offensive linemen for Austin Peay. Both sides have agreed to shorten this fourth quarter. It has been all Bulldogs, close to 500 yards of total offense. Everybody getting in on the act, including a multitude of freshmen. The debuts today for Justin Fields, for James Cook, a lot of those old linemen. The start in the secondary today for Tyson Campbell, this #1 ranked recruiting class for Georgia, having an immediate impact. Boats fall on 3rd and 7. The underneath route, flag down.
When you move with the tackle for the Dogs, the check the flag.
Let's see what the flag is for there.
Pass interference. Offense number 7. That penalty will be declined. 4th down.
Well, coming up tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC, it's the Camping World Kickoff presented by Wells Fargo, Louisville, and #1 Alabama. That's coming your way later tonight. Got a good night of college football for you. Next up is UCLA. We'll see the debut of new head coach Chip Kelly for the Bruins, as well as their their new quarterback Wilton Speight. Late night tonight, BYU and Arizona as the Kevin Sumlin era begins. And how about the moves right here for Akil Crumpton. And a flag is down. 52 yards on the punt, 14 on the return with some fancy footwork.
It's unbelievable. The amount of athletes we've been calling out today, and we're still talking about it on special teams plays. It's remarkable. The talent is deep for this Georgia team.
Well, the coaching staff praised his warrior mentality, Akil Crumpton.
During the return, illegal block in the back, receiving team number 36, 10-yard penalty, first down.
8:30 to play. We'll take the timeout and be right back. There's a look at offensive line coach Joshua Ergel for Austin Peay, and what an emotional story it has been for he and his family, and how the college football world has rallied around young Landry Ergel. She will be celebrating her 6th birthday on September 7th, a miracle that she has lasted and been through so much and continues her fight against a rare gene mutation. But with Joshua and his wife Kristen leading the charge, their other kids, Courtney and Stallings, they have not only handled everything that has come their way with such grace and dignity, but they have been an inspiration to so many other people that are trying to overcome big challenges. They have appreciated and gotten an outpouring of love online, and that includes a lot of donations on their GoFundMe page from Georgia fans who knew that Joshua Ergel and Landry were coming today, along with the family, with Austin Peay playing here at Georgia. It's Austin Peay kicker Cole Phillips, who is a Georgia native, who spread the word with a lot of his friends, some of them on the team, and they got the word out to Georgia fans, and they have all been pitching in. For more information and to see how you can help out, by the way, Chris Lowe has a terrific story about the Ergels on ESPN.com.
And, you know, people don't understand, you know, yeah, they have a GoFundMe page, but they've depleted their accounts. They've taken loans out. I mean, they are in some serious need for cash, and he's been very prideful in this situation because he was a little hesitant about doing that and going to a GoFundMe page, and his wife said, look, we need to help, and let's just see what we can get. And it's been an outpouring. Even the Georgia, he said, the Georgia fans, people caught wind of this, and it's been fantastic. And it gets them back where now the money that they've gotten, Beth, not only secures some of those things, but helps them future with their daughter as well.
She is the only person in America diagnosed with the disease, and her family and team have been all there to support her.
ESPN College Football is presented by PlayStation 4, the best place to play.
I remember wearing those when I was a kid, that football helmet with the old plastic chin strap. Some young fans enjoying the day today. They've seen some big plays as well this afternoon for Georgia, including the 72-yard touchdown run for Robertson and the 59-yard touchdown pass from to Hardman.
I know the backs have been good in this game, Beth, but I can't reiterate the dominance of the offensive line position. Very rarely did a running back get touched within 2 yards of where the ball was snapped today, and that's the kind of push you're looking for. Now, listen, Austin Peay doesn't have the biggest defensive lineman, and I get that, but moving forward, they're going to be tough to handle with any team they go against. So that's one thing when you're talking about physicality at that position alone at the offensive line. Kirby Smart's going to be happy.
Big hit and a flag down on the contact as soon as the receiver caught the football. That is tailback James Cook playing special teams.
Now that looked like forcible contact to the head or neck area all day long.
I could have sworn I thought a hand went up earlier, but maybe not. Wilson doesn't look like he was getting ready to run. Can we go earlier to see? Either way, that's going to take Cook out of the game. Was there a hand that went up, folks, before? Maybe not.
Personal foul. KCI with targeting, number 6 of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. The previous play is under review.
And remember, if that's the end for Cook, he'll miss the rest of this game in the first half of next week.
The targeting penalty and the ejection for Cook.
Yeah, called a fair catch.
Could end up being costly for Georgia. Good finish setting up in Happy Valley with App State hanging with Penn State. Well, the recent development here for Georgia on a special teams play, James Cook, one of the Georgia tailbacks, ejected from the game for targeting on the punt return or the punt coverage team, which means he will miss the first half of the South Carolina game next week.
Now, I like James Cook, but that was a very stupid play. That's been a penalty and a point of emphasis for the last 6 years. It was blatant. He has just got to know better than that.
And it's a fair catch. The fact that he thought that was a nice hit kind of boggles my mind as well. He's an excellent running back. He's got a bright future, but you got to know the rules. If the arm goes up by the guy returning the football, D'Angelo Wilson, you can't touch him. Stay away from him. So he may have missed it. I get that, but it's nowhere to hit a player. That's a very dangerous position.
Yes.
Very tough place to be when you're a punt returner, and that's exactly why this rule was put into place.
Big lick in the backfield. Anderson was the guy that got there. And a loss of 2, Adam Anderson.
True freshman, another Georgia guy. They're getting deep now. I mean, they're getting a lot of players. They got a lot of guys with double numbers they're trying to get jerseys on. We probably got handed about 10 different changes throughout the day, trying to, anticipating these players getting in the game. So they're getting some work.
And again, Kirby Smart, he doesn't think that will necessarily be a big issue moving forward, but it certainly does with the new redshirt rule give you an opportunity to see some young guys in this type of situation early in the season.
Yeah, and he doesn't think it's a big deal, but you're right. I mean, listen, when I was a freshman, a true freshman, I was not ready to play. Now, I wasn't a 5-star guy by any stretch of the imagination. I needed to redshirt. I needed to grow. I needed to play 4 years at college. That was me. So, when they get these top-rated players, these guys are so physically gifted that he anticipates they're not going to stick around that long. So they got to be ready to get on the field, and most of them are ready and prepared to go, talent-wise. Now, knowing the system and understanding what they're trying to do within the scheme is one thing, but keeping it simplistic, like a game today against Austin Peay where they didn't put a lot in the play, take out of the playbook for a prep for this game, they were able to get a lot of players in.
My favorite part about the new redshirt rule is I saw it many times when I was playing. The minute a guy knew he was redshirting, he shut it down. Right, day to day, he wasn't exactly coming out every day to get better. Now with this rule, you don't know when you may go in, so you may come out every day and try to get better at your craft. I think that's going to be, to me, the most beneficial part of that rule.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rocky. You're vested throughout the season. You could get called upon. Trey Nation with the run up the middle. Well, the ESPN app now with ESPN Plus. Get more ESPN and download now. Always a great place to go for all of your ESPN needs. A lot of scores to follow. I think probably the shocker of the day so far, for the second year in a row, Maryland has upset Texas. The Maryland Terrapins on an emotional day with their interim head coach, Matt Canada, following the death of one of their players in the offseason, and the investigation ongoing with involving their head coach and some of the members of their staff. The Terrapins win at home for the second year in a row over Tom Herman's Longhorns.
And not to get off that bet, but, I'm just watching Austin Peay, and, Healy talked about trying to get small gains, small wins out of this game. There really wasn't much. I mean, I don't know where they're going to go on the tape and find something positive that came out of this football game to get their team better. You didn't want to get any injuries. They may have lost their center. So, again, it's going to be tough.
They're going to give it up on downs with under 3 minutes to go. Time now for today's Game Track, brought to you by the U.S. Navy, and a 45-0 Georgia lead. Jake Fromm, a couple of touchdown passes. DeAndre Swift with a rushing touchdown. A lot of different guys carried the mail today, and some big plays as well, Anthony.
Yeah, it started early and often, the running game, especially this play. Robertson comes in, the first time he touches the ball as a Bulldog, he takes it to the house on a jet sweep, kind of propelled this offense, and then the stable of running backs continued. Holyfield came in between the tackle runner and showed his game-breaking ability, breaking tackles, and then how about the speed? When a receiver gets a chance, Hardman, two guys have angles, and then all of a sudden they don't. They can come nowhere near him. Track runner for Georgia, and he's showing that speed. And then there's the starting quarterback, Jake Fromm. An easy day for him. High completion percentage. Got the ball out of their hands quickly. Got the ball to the playmakers. He's got a plethora of them, and they're able to make plenty of plays today.
Well, a reminder, too, tomorrow night on ABC. Sunday night kickoff presented by NHTSA. It's Miami and LSU at 7 Eastern. And as always, you can watch live on the ESPN app anywhere you happen to be. We got college football Sunday night. We got college football Monday night. Virginia Tech and Florida State. Next week, the South Carolina Gamecocks will be hosting these Georgia Bulldogs. They were winners today. Jake Bentley, 4 touchdown passes today for the Gamecocks. As they're switching to more of an up-tempo offense this year for Will Muschamp's bunch. Georgia did win over there 2 years ago, as we have now dipped under the 2-minute mark in a game where we shaved 5 minutes off of this fourth quarter by mutual agreement of both coaches.
Seeing some guys now for Georgia that probably typically would not get onto the field. Tidwell in the backfield, just getting an opportunity. It's kind of cool to see these players get in the game. I'm sure their folks are watching.
Yep.
They're in the stands, family members, their high school teammates. It's just kind of cool to see those guys get in and get an opportunity.
Fourth down coming up. I think we've got a timeout on the field with 1:11 to go. Kirby Smart still coaching them up. Let's take a look at Jake Fromm with our PlayStation Player Index. The stats from last year: 2,600 passing yards, most ever by a Georgia true freshman, and the 24 touchdown passes amongst the all-time best. And here's what he's done so far today.
Yeah, there's short passing game, completions. Just get the ball to your playmakers. There's a lot of them. Backs that ran out of the backup, backs that swung out the pass routes, backs that detached, and then you have your receivers. Just get them into their hands and let them make plays. Honestly, rarely were many of these skilled position players even touched till several yards down the field. So, again, just a dominating performance, and give credit out to, Austin Peay came into this football game knowing they're a bit undermanned. They embraced it. They embraced the opportunity to come in a place like Georgia. The crowd was going crazy. It was a full-packed stadium. It's nice for those kids, but, Georgia definitely took care of business today.
And that will bound into the end zone for the touchback. So we talked about who they've got next at South Carolina. Look at the win percentage. The closest game that figures to come their way would be home against Auburn late in the season. And even then, they're a significant favorite over the Tigers.
And they'll have to be ready next week. I mean, that's going to be a tough game. I get it. That looks like a guaranteer maybe from a percentage standpoint. But I promise you, South Carolina is a good football team. Many people pick them to come out and challenge for this SEC. So, you know, this will be a game where it'll be completely different personality and everything they see on the football field than they did against Austin Peay. And they'll have to be prepared. This will be a huge week for practice for Georgia, maybe one of the biggest of the early season.
Craig with the scramble will have to chuck it out of bounds. Well, tonight after BYU and Arizona, you can wrap things up with SportsCenter. Stan Verrett and Michael Eaves. They'll be breaking down all the big games of the day, including Michigan and Notre Dame. Still to come later tonight in South Bend, the memorable sights and sounds from week 1. And we've got baseball, too, to cover. Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers, a crucial series going on with the Diamondbacks. Coming up next, UCLA hosting Cincinnati. The Chip Kelly era will get underway. Chip returns to the college game. Benico Harley with the catch. Anderson had the cover. Might be the last play of this one. And that will probably do it. The Georgia Bulldogs open up with a shutout win over Austin Peay, 45-0, the final. And the handshake for Kirby Smart and Will Healy. A rough day for the Govs, but they can now set their sights on their FCS schedule and what could still end up being a playoff season for them. And of course for Georgia, their mind's on a playoff as well. Way down the line, they've got work to do as they will open up SEC play on the road at South Carolina next Saturday. Let's head down the field, Rocky.
Coach, you told me before the game the biggest thing you wanted to see out of your team was physicality. Assess that part of the game.
Well, it's hard to assess without watching the tape. I think we showed it in spurts, played really hard, but really didn't play to the standard that I expected us to.
Jake Fromm had a great game. Assess the performance of the youngster, Jake Fields.
Yeah, I thought both quarterbacks did a good job showing composure. Justin was a little nervous when he first got in there, but he got his feet under him. There are 2 quarterbacks right now. We got to make sure those guys are ready to play.
Now, you pitched a shutout. You're replacing 8 guys on defense. What's your early returns on how they played?
Well, they played hard, played really hard, and didn't give up a lot of big plays down the field. And I think that's the big key for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Rocky.
Thank you, Rocky. That's it from Athens. Our final score: the Bulldogs beat the Govs 45-0. Coming up next, Cincinnati and UCLA. But for right now, let's get you back to the studio as the Dawgs pick up the W to open up the new year.